G'day guys, this is CW from the land down under, joining Armeanio for another weekly developer update. As you can see, his smiling face. We've had a couple of technical difficulties this morning, so it's pretty funny. Welcome, Joe. Say g'day.
Yeah, good to be back. Talk to the community and cover the update.
Yeah, it's another substantial update. What's something that piques your interest this week?
Sure. So on the core side, EIP 27 is coming up. And so that means that we've been, double checking, triple checking our homework, going through, talking with various mining pools, making sure their reference client is set up right. This is a soft fork, so ideally, if you're solo mining out there, you want to hop on the forum, get updated information, make sure that your config is going to make sure that you're sticking with us as you mine. Now, that is also true for a couple smaller pools. I'm still working to get in contact with a few of the newer, smaller ones, but we'll get that settled. And hopefully, we see a smooth launch and re-emission becomes a thing of the past. And then we march on to the next big update, which is this Node 5.0 reference client that we've been talking about for quite a while on these updates. But for those of you that are new, it essentially improves the costing mechanisms for how space in our blocks is estimated. It also improves throughput pretty significantly. And, post 5.0, one thing that the team has been talking about is getting custom reference miners out to where in our current setup, the default costing mechanism looks at the bytes and the fee and basically prioritizes things based on efficiency, which kind of makes sense if you're talking about little transactions. But when we have a massive airdrop with a lot of outputs, a lot of the times there's a pretty decent block reward attached to that. And if miners want to prioritize that right now, that's a little bit of an issue. So in creating reference miners, we give mining pools the ability to kind of create their own economy in terms of how they interact with the blockchain. And longer term, I think that's important. If you see a very large drop that has a pretty healthy mining tip in it, that may make sense than just grabbing as many little transactions and packing them in a block as you can. So power to the miners is important to us. So that's something that we're going to try to work on and get out this year.
Yeah, exciting times ahead. For those who, like Joe said, might be new to the space, EIP 27 will be implemented a couple of days after this video is released, block height 777217. So Kushti's been crossing his T's and dotting his I's and making sure everything across the board is sweet in that respect. And then onward and upwards to Node 5.0.
Yeah, and one thing I want to address as well, we kind of put in a temporary limit in terms of the transaction size on top of the node, because that costing mechanism was actually working against us, being that it was kind of the default setting where if I dropped a really big transaction onto the network, it would kind of grind through the P2P layer sometimes for hours until it found a block empty enough that basically there was nothing more efficient to pack the block with. So that's kind of been temporarily we put like a guardrail there. And hopefully as we get this new reference client update out 5.0 and we create custom mining the ability for them to basically set their own economy, we can remove the guardrail and then it will process a lot more efficiently. That's something that actually miners are going to need to vote for. That's not an update that the team, independently has the ability to just force onto the network. So we're going to go through a whole process of, talking about the efficiency, the improvement, go through the proper testing protocol on our side, engage the mining community and say, hey, do you want to get paid more? and yeah, I think they're going to be on board.
Yeah, goes against or doesn't go against their business model whatsoever. They're always looking for an extra couple of bucks here and there, so I'm sure they'll be very inclined to vote in favor of this upgrade. So yeah, let's start the discussion around Node 5.0.
Sure.
All right, let's jump into the developer update. So to kick things off, there's a nice little comment here from Lagalot. It's just got nothing to do, nothing to contribute here other than to give their gratefulness for all of you guys' hard work. So thanks to all the developers, week in, week out, you guys are putting in the hard yards, and I think that's reflected in the stack updates that are released almost weekly, it seems now.
Yeah, that's contributing something. We appreciate it.
It is. So moving on, we've got Pragmaxim with the node improvements. He's currently working on the header syncing optimization and finishing optimization of the wallet box listing. So if you want to check that out, you can jump onto those repos that is listed and onto Sepehr. You can take Sepehr.
Sure, it looks like they're still working on GraphQL. Right now, their main focus is creating a relay between that build and the node. So that's something that is still in progress, but as they march forward, we're going to get a couple of new Explorer instances looking at this dev update, which is huge. That's something that I've been talking with Alex about actually this week. That's been a pretty big focus in terms of what can we do to make the Explorer a little bit more scalable. We have had some bottlenecking this week, so on our side, more needs to be done so that it doesn't create a delay in the user experience. Ideally, we have users that are going to look into full nodes. That way, they're not dependent on any external servers, things like that. But light wallets are popular with the general users, so we need to service that part of our ecosystem.
Yeah, have a little bit more redundancy behind the scenes helps everyone get away from those bottlenecks in busy times.
Yeah, and also having multiple instances in different languages is going to be important longer term too. That way, different DApp teams can host their own custom Explorer build, and hopefully, it creates like a ecosystem-wide incentive to just basically deliver the best user experience, right? We are moving in that direction as the ecosystem grows, where you're going to have different dApps that kind of exist in the same space, and that's one way you can just deliver a really solid experience to whoever's going to hop onto what you're building.
Yeah, by all means, definitely agree with that. All about the user experience. That's pretty much anyone, or summarizes everyone's experience interacting with the blockchain and their individual dApps throughout the ecosystem. So you want to make that as smooth as possible.
Okay.
So moving on, we've got greenhat with looks like another substantial update.
Sure. So they're still working on the SPV client. Looks like they've fixed an issue they had in Chrome. They've merged the Oracle token transfer command. Right now, they're actually getting into what I would call the more difficult part of the Oracle build. Last I talked to greenhat, he said, in his estimate, it would be a couple of weeks. I'm going to say a month, just because what he's doing is he's working on the contract side as well as kind of the implementation infrastructure side at the same time. And depending on if he has to step from one to the other or go back one to the other, that could be just a more challenging part of the build. So we are seeing some progress with that. He's done some closed testing in the parts of the version 2 Oracle that he's been able to put together, but there's a couple of aspects that are yet to be fully built and implemented into what he's totally covered. And And I think we're actually going to see some more testing around the core framework that he's already put together. That may be later in the update.
Yeah, there's a couple of little things scattered throughout this one. Okay, so moving on. Oh, well, there's lots to do here. So there's the SPV side with Nipper powers, Oracle updates. So if you want to check that out, jump into these repos and then onto Morphic. Just another Sigma update once again. So the Ergo node successfully synced with the Sigma release client 5.0. Just waiting for a review. So that's exciting. A couple of PRs as always for the AOT costing cleanup. So there's lots of lines of code that have been stripped out from the version 4 to version 5. So it's a big undertaking. For Ergo, prepared the Ergo branch for Sigma 5.0.1, the version without the AOT interpreter. Has a full sync on mainnet, and then if successful, the old code will be safely removed. A couple of miscellaneous things. Just finished a review of the ErgoHack Fest projects, and then we'll do a test of the full node sync with Sigma 5.0.1.
Yeah, there's a couple of things actually that are probably worth addressing there in terms of just getting buried. ErgoHack, I still have not heard back from all of the judges. It's good to see that Morphic is able to review all 17 submissions. But I'm gonna probably have to start poking people and say, hey, we need to, wrap this up, tie it off, and release our results soon. Also, when we had the meetup with Dan, there's going to be an NFT drop. I think he's still collecting wallets, but I have to see where that's at as well. So I'm sure those two questions are kind of floating around in the community. Hey, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. And, yeah, well, for the judging side of the ErgoHack Fest, as you said, there's 17 projects. So lumping that on top of the developers' current workload to sort of sink their teeth into that current ErgoHack Fest submissions and then be able to provide an honest review of them all, it's quite a big undertaking.
Yeah, and then the truth is we also have quite a few devs that are going to want to take things apart and look under the hood just for the fun of doing it. So that may also kind of be a delay where, don't play with it too much. Give us your honest feedback and, hopefully get through all 17. So we can results.
Okay, so moving on, we've got SpookyErgo. So they've added a leaderboard to the game, have a dumb connect wallet button. It's been added, and then just completing a couple of tests. So there's a video there if you want to jump onto the Discord and check that one out. Now moving on, we've got Morphic. Do you want to take him?
Sure. Basically, looks like he's asking greenhat to check and debug a log in the Sigma state interpreter.
Yep. Then on to Jozinek. Jozinek. Reach out and let me know.
Yeah, let us know. I hate murdering people's names over and over and over again.
So he's working, or they are working on the Sigma side, so the pretty printer draft. It's a bit of a tongue twister. And then also the max tree depth for these serializers. Then next up is the pretty printer edge cases. So the to-dos are in the PRs. On to MrStahlfelge, another one I've probably destroyed.
I am guilty as well. Yeah, did you see the P2P thing that Token J pushed out? Yeah,
the escrow service. So with a couple of, I think it's going to be utilized a little bit in regards to the ErgoPad whitelistings. Just takes out that or provides a layer of trust in being able to transfer tokens.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's kind of like, for those of you that don't know, it's like a P2P DEX, to where if CW and I wanted to create a P2P swap of any kind, we have the tools that we can use that are open source, and do it via smart contract between us. That way there's no, well, you send first and then I'll send back.
The whole trust me bro scenario once again.
It eliminates that. It eliminates basically the need for an intermediary for two people to exchange whatever they want to exchange with a smart contract. And it's built into the mobile app on the phone. Pretty seamless stuff. It's pretty amazing. I'm looking forward to playing with it. So it looks like the wallet app 1.10 is released on all the tracks, which means across Android and iPhone. The Mosaik plugin system is implemented. All the input elements that are needed for version 1 for the desktop and Android system have been integrated into the wallet. And there's an ongoing discussion about how that's going to be released. Meanwhile, he's working on example dApps for both test cases, and a tutorial series will come, which is incredible to see. That'll be really nice to have a wallet that transcends kind of the devices. We see it on desktop and mobile, and it would be actually pretty cool to use kind of your PC for your hot wallet, and have your mobile cold wallet on the side, and see if you can integrate those two features. A lot of power users, I think, prefer the laptop or desktop versus the mobile. I don't know, where are you on that, CW?
I prefer the desktop, but by no means am I a power user.
You're a power user. That probably me neither, to be honest. Might be a high bar.
Yeah, I just prefer to be able to see the whole transactions, being able to jump onto the Explorer and check addresses and all that sort of stuff. Doing that on a mobile, I just find it too finicky. I don't know whether that's my age or I'm showing my age or what, but yeah, that's just my preference, is jumping on a desktop.
Yeah, I'm the same. Big fingers, little buttons. Struggle. So also looks like he's implementing a ready-to-use Ergo payment portal that can be integrated into websites, applications, games for developers to basically support ergs as payment rails. That's pretty nice to see. You have a lot of, like, a low-hanging fruit out there would be like something like WordPress. Get a plugin that people can offer their business to use erg as a payment solution. So I think that seeing multiple solutions like that longer term is going to be really valuable on the wallet side.
Yeah, for sure. Just ties into that UX user experience once again, just making things streamlined. Moving on, we've got Luivatra and an update from the ErgoPad team. So not too much news going on, but plenty of work. So they're preparing the EGIO, so the Ergo gaming side of things, staking. That's expected to be live sometime next week. Then still working on the Padilla design and architecture. Constant work's being done to improve their Explorer instance and the DB performance. Designing an NFT sales contract, as always a more interesting problem than expected. And despite the market, it's been pretty volatile in recent days, they're still getting good interest in their IDOs, which is great. So they have an upcoming IDO with Swamp Audio, which is great to see.
Yeah, it is.
And on to Mr. Kushti. You want to take?
Sure. So, the node in EIP, I discussed at the intro of the video. Basically, he's going through it over and over and over again because, well, devs have a tendency to do that before things launch, which is good. Looks like he's been also checking the mining pools, making sure that on their side everything is set up properly so we have a smooth transition. He's made a couple of improvements to the P2P code and has been looking into improving faster block propagation across the P2P network. Looks like he discovered a bug in the peer data serialization that he's been working on. And the side project that he and Amitabh have been working on, which is scalahub on Discord, is Dexy, which is actually, last I discussed with him, we're actually considering tying that to gold rather than a fiat currency, just because we're in kind of a wild era, and there's also some potential, regulatory stuff that might be nice to sidestep using a hard asset versus a currency. And the also is it creates additional arbitrage trading to where, depending on whether you want to go erg, Dexy Gold, SigUSD, Dexy Gold, SigUSD, erg, it gives people more opportunity to potentially exploit slippage in price differences, and that just makes for more active trading network. He's also continuing to work on a draft and paper. We'll probably see, the paper, go through some review, but we'll start discussion on the Ergo forum. So those of you that are curious about Dexy Gold and how that is going to come about and what that's going to consist of, you can certainly hop on the forum once that drops.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, being able to tie it to gold. Who knows what's coming in regards to sort of stablecoin regulation, and if it's tied to a hard asset, then, like you said, you might be able to sidestep around that.
Yeah, longer term, I think it would be really interesting to, first we have to figure out the ideal framework, right? And, Dexy is a different animal than AGUSD. It's kind of ergo specific. AGUSD actually came from a researcher that works with IOG. But once we have a pretty solid framework there, then it's a matter of saying, okay, well, how, can we build it out, make it a little bit more complex, perhaps interesting? Maybe have a basket of assets or a basket of currencies, or, some combination thereof. There's a lot of potential derivatives that would be interesting to spin up and see if they can be kind of foundational for building a decentralized economy with.
Yeah, it's definitely one to keep our eyes on, that's for sure. So moving on, we have an update from Glasgow. So he's transitioned the Ergo website from G-Cloud to GitHub, and it's now open for PRs. So if you wanted to do some translations or that sort of side of things, by all means, jump on and create a PR and get it implemented on the website. And then also working with Ledger, and they've merged the code into their new repo, so should be available shortly via their app store. So that's a big one for the community.
Yeah, that's big. That's going to basically open up Ledger to all devices. Yeah, last I heard, it had been pulled into their GitHub, and they're doing some additional testing review, but looks like everything is within the specs that they would hope for. So I don't anticipate any issues there. Hopefully that's something that can surprise us soon.
Hopefully no surprises there, but yes, have it on the devices, yes.
Well, I mean, surprises in terms of like, we finally have it in Ledger Live,
Exactly, yes.
A grind with that one.
Not wrong. I remember when the Ergo platform tweeted they've teamed up with Tesseract, sorry. So yeah, it's been a long road.
It has indeed. Yeah, now we have scalahub. He's working on Dexy EIP updates and a couple of new design ideas that Kushti had dropped on him that I think will make it a little bit more performant. He's also working on the Oracle Pool 2.0 EIP to update some contracts that greenhat had requested, and looks like he's expecting to have both ready by Friday. So that's great to see.
Yep, working fast as always. Now on to MHS Sam. update on Rosen. So they're about 2 or 3 weeks behind their planned schedule. The bridge development needs to be very meticulous. Obviously, there's a lot at stake. The implementation of the tests took much longer than expected, but all the necessary parts have unit tests, so that's good to see. Based on the initial tests, they've also found a couple of bugs on the transaction creation on the Ergo and both Ergo and Cardano sides, and it took another week for them to resolve that one. And it looks like it will be on the test nets in less than a month. Then on to Susie. He'll have an update in the next developer meeting, and the raffle UI is now open source. So if you want to sort of play with that, jump on.
Yeah, basically what MHS is up to is he's built the individual components. He's been testing them as individual parts, improving that. And so it'd be exciting to see that get plugged together.
Yeah. Being able to get that bridge into sort of Cardano or other ecosystems. Obviously, this is all the groundwork, getting all the nuts and bolts sort of together to be able to implement across the board.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch.
It's a little update from Greenhat. He has a fix for a PR. Kushti next in node development.
So basically, Alex's focus has been EIP 27. That's been something he's been buried in for a long time. It seems a couple of months at least. And so, Node 5.0 has actually been progressing. The UTXO set snapshot has been progressing as well, but they've kind of been waiting for their final review. And so now that EIP 27 is, in the short future will be behind us. That means that we're going to see a lot more support for 5.0. We're going to see a lot more support for that UTXO set snapshot sync. It's a little bit of a tongue twister there, but so I'm quite excited actually for the later to finish and deploy that syncing mechanism. I think that's going to set the stage for let's call it the next generation of full node wallets on Ergo, which will be pretty big, and hopefully we see a lot more nodes securing the network.
Yeah, most definitely. I prefer transacting with a full node, just having that extra security, but then also being able to provide a little bit of an extra service to the network as well.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have an update from Nemo. Do you want to take Nemo?
Sure. Looks like they've been working on adding token burning to the DApp connector. They've added improvements on fee and change box detection. They also have a UI rework that makes boxes a little bit easier to understand. They've added Excel, the asset from ErgoLind, into the logs with the logo. On GraphQL, they are continuing to work to connect to the node. Looks like they've finished the query optimization layer and are adding some refactoring, going back, cleaning up their code, cutting off the rough edges. It's exciting to see.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones there is the token burn warning. So what happens there is you send the contents of a UTXO, but it doesn't get returned in the output from a transaction. So having a warning there saying that tokens will be burned if you go ahead, then it's great for the user base.
Yeah, and we should probably at some point, any person that's interacting with a staking key and they're redeeming their staking key, burning the staking key is actually a part of that process of redemption, because it kind of represents the value that you're withdrawing. And so obviously you don't want to get that back, where then you can, double dip, right? So we might see some people that are interacting with staking that are saying, hey, it says this asset's going to burn, what's happening, and thinks that's actually a problem when it's actually how it's supposed to work. So we might actually, need to consider in the morning having some sort of disclaimer, like if you're dealing with your staking key, it's okay, because that might freak some people out.
Yeah, definitely. Just it comes down to education, I guess, as well. So yeah, just having another little flag there for the people interacting with the ErgoPad staking keys. Yeah, be good.
I'll see if we can get that done. That might actually create kind of a headache for like the ErgoPad guys if suddenly everyone's that has extreme anxiety looking at their wallet saying it's going to open key when it's supposed to.
Yeah, definitely. We have an update from PGR 456, just saying that they're new here and they're working on an alternative Explorer implementation written in Golang. So welcome to the developer ecosystem.
Yeah, that's actually pretty huge. That's awesome to see. PGR 456. I'm excited to see how that comes together.
Yeah, we'll watch with bated interest. Then on to just a couple of questions there from Kushti, sorry. And then on to Ilya with SigmaValley. So working on implementing the rent smart contract into the new renting mini marketplace inside SigmaValley. So be able to rent space within this metaverse. That's interesting. And dappstep added 2 JavaScript tutorials. One is message signing and the user authentication with Nautilus wallet and Sigma Rust, and how to sign transactions using the backend wallet without a node. Then planning to write a mini course on transactions, so understanding the building, so structure, building, troubleshooting, train transactions, scaling problems, and practical solutions, so creating tokens and so on. So I like what he's doing there. It's good.
Yeah, that's exciting. We have 2 potential new tutorials coming out. MrStahlfelge earlier said that he might work on that, and now we have Ilya from SigmaValley coming on, and that's great.
Yep, more dev tooling, the better. So we'll probably see that in sigmaverse.io at some stage. Scrolling down. Talking about API prices for gold erg for the Oracle pools, and an update from Fanta. So they have been tinkering with the node to get some optional extra indexing of boxes and UTXOs. So it'll be useful for running off-chain bots without an Explorer instance. It'd be nice for Ergosphere. Nothing to show yet, so we'll watch that one. And on to Cheese Enthusiast. You take cheese, the big cheese.
Yeah, I'll take the big cheese. Subpooling, yeah, they released the BTC subpool. That actually got some pretty impressive traction quite quickly, which I think just goes to show that mining is all about incentives. And if the incentives are right, suddenly the miners, their hash rate comes flowing towards you. Looks like the exchange emission contract is working well in terms of pricing Neta, despite some fluctuations. They've started working on some additional stats. They're firing up certain API calls on the UI. They are working on some bug fixes for account intricacies of mining Neta, which, yeah, I imagine that has quite a bit of it's going to kind of become a process where I guess if they're going to want to spin up subpools, they're going to have to put together a cookbook of all the different aspects of their back end and front end that they need to go through and update to whatever new asset they're supporting. So, hopefully this is a nice foundation for them to get ready for, perhaps more of that. Looks like let's see, they're working on some new stats, API calls. In terms of GetBlok Plasma, they're changing the AVL database implementation to use main and undo structures that are found in the node. It seems to be the most efficient way to allow for quick rollbacks. Looks like they've used an abstraction class in the first transaction successfully, and we're able to treat it more like a Scala map, which should simplify the process for developers who want to implement AVL trees into their dApps. That's going to be huge. If GetBlok, is able to work that out and come out with additional tutorials, documentation to assist other applications to use AVL trees to scale, that's going to be a pretty big deal for the Ergo network. I'm quite excited to see kind of where the organic growth there leads to.
Just on AVL trees, do you want to give the community a rundown on what they are in simple terms?
Sure. It's a database structure that balances mathematically. They're pretty efficient. So basically what it allows a application to do is run a database and simply check the checksum of that on chain. So it kind of gives them a scaling solution where, as GetBlok potentially grows, they're going to potentially attract a lot of miners, have a lot of economic activity, have a lot of addresses, have a lot of data that they need to store. And, GetBlok has been very strong day one about transparency, right? Well, you do have the ability to put things on chain and make them transparent, but having an ability to scale and kind of compress that data structure into a single checksum and then check that on chain is going to allow them to be much, much, much more efficient in terms of, the amount of space and data they use while maintaining, a secure security structure around their database.
Thank you very much for that. And moving on, just a little update from LowKeyNerd and BlitzTCG. So they just started a new job this week. So Blitz will be on the back burner for a couple of weeks. So moving on, we've got update from Dmitry with SigmaVerse. So fixed the carousel card preview, working on adding links for the categories, prepared a roadmap for the SigmaVerse scaling. So they might migrate the content from GitHub to a database, and then we'll add Strappy as a backend. We'll add each page for each project with a description, socials, white paper. That'd be good having it all in one location. The token price, if there is one, and then start migrating to strappy.io. And also saw a couple of issues on the Explorer back end, which have been fixed up, and we'll take a look on the front end side at the moment.
Yeah, I think that'll be great to have SigmaVerse grow out to where, projects can independently, interact a little bit more, and we kind of get like our, CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko of Ergo together, where people can come into the ecosystem and hopefully get better information than CoinMarketCap, because I don't even know if they've still updated our tokenomics, and we have pinged them and got lost in their help desk for far too long. So if CoinMarketCap is ever watching this video, please update the tokenomics.
Yeah, just on that, I've answered a couple more questions around that this week. So it's kind of pops up once or twice throughout the weeks. Definitely the questions have been asked. On to the Sentient NFT.
So it looks like Sentientchain has updated their tokenomics. They've finalized their pitch deck. The swap UI for their website is put together. They need a landing page for when their website launches. The DNS set for the master node looks like it's done. This week, we plan to get the official website up, and the master node will be accessible to anyone from its associated DNS. So looking forward to seeing the website and information coming together out of that project.
Yeah, it's a pretty big undertaking, and they've progressed pretty well throughout the ErgoHack and then thereafter.
Yeah.
Moving on, we've got ErgoDex Ilia, so working on the Explorer, so tuning the PG settings on the current instances and setting up an additional Explorer instance. From the ErgoDex, they're testing stable swap contracts and preparing the ErgoDex for the Vasil hard fork on Cardano, which is the end of June, I believe. Then the ErgoDex front-end side, they've added cookie policy, fixed liquidity add balance displaying, fixed locks behavior, fixed add liquidity asset order, added a table component with a sort and filter, so that's nice. And then added the Cardano operation history component, and then a couple of work in progresses, so integrating Safe W wallet, and updating it to React version 18. So just on the Explorer instances, we touched on that earlier.
Yeah, that's going to be something that, hopefully grows as our DApp ecosystem grows. And, I really think that ultimately, as our network develops, we're going to have just the competition incentive to where if I can host my Explorer and I can outperform your DApp CW, I might attract your users, right? And so then it naturally kind of creates a marketplace that hopefully drives good user experience. And, being that Ergo really has a pretty strong community around open source code, it's going to benefit everybody long term.
Yeah, most definitely. Leave my user base alone. So moving on, we've got an update from Jay the Ergod with Night Owl. Do you want to take those, guys?
Sure. So it looks like Night Owl is still coming together. On the front end, they've created a About Us page. They finished the lottery table mockup to show if you're a winner, and some additional minor fixes in roulette. In the back end, they stood up their own Explorer backend and front end instances, which, that's exactly what I was talking about. Happy to see that. They've incorporated a single session ID for each bet, so debugging issue is way easier. This is actually a pretty smart idea. That way you can kind of track and basically handle any transaction issues individually. That's just smart, I think. Continuing to work on integrating the roulette result contract into the backend. They've set up a CI/CD pipeline for front-end automated deployment to their development server. They've also done integration for Safe Wallet and the Ergo DApp connector React package that they created for the hackathon, which is one of my favorite projects, just because it's so reusable. The composability there is just a huge value add to the ecosystem. Looks like they've added some fixes to roulette result contract and the VDF validator. And it looks like they've also added Quokka to the team to work on their front end. And they have 8 team members now, so they're growing. Great to see.
Yeah, they've got quite a lot going on there. And to be able to correct you on the pronunciation from an Australian's point of view, it's Quokka.
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 What is a quokka anyway? It's like a tree, squirrel, bear, marmot.
Quokka is a little marsupial that's found on Rottnest Island off WA. So it's a little sort of kangaroo-looking possum kind of little thing, and they're renowned to be the most photographed sort of happy little animals. They've always got a smile on their faces. So check them out, Google it. They're pretty cool little things. So just got a little sidetrack there. Moving on, we've got a Liquid Phase with a Swamp Audio update. So they're going through the source code before publishing to the public repo on GitHub. Just making sure there's no sensitive data points. begun recruiting a mid-scale musical artists. So thousands or tens of thousands of followers. So that's pretty cool. Starting to scale up. And then I was just working with their marketing lead to develop onboarding graphics and pages. It's going a little slower than they had hoped, but yeah, it's all in fruition. And then working to keep future updates for Swamp inside the Swamp audio channel. So if you want to keep up to date on that, jump over there on Discord. And moving on, we've got ABC Chris.
Sure. He's worked on ergo-setup, which is a Docker Compose stack to easily deploy Ergo tooling. And the current version, it's the node in the Explorer. Recently added the last bits for the local Explorer experience. I do know that Nemo had reached out to Chris and see if we could get some support for a couple of the Explorer builds. I think having that deployable package in the future just makes the development experience easier. And who knows, maybe we'll even see some people on the user side playing around with hosting their own version of the Explorer, which would be pretty cool. That way you have no external dependencies. Looks like for Ergo Watch, they're still working on the new backend. They've just released version 0.3 with real-time supply information on exchanges, main and deposit addresses, the rich list for any token on the Ergo network and Erg has been updated. That's a pretty cool feature. The address tags, which tells you what you need to know about an address, an exchange address, known contracts, etc., is out, and a couple of releases to go. And then they can migrate it to a new website API. And yeah, we're going to see a really nice kind of data analytics website coming out of there. I think they've already done a great job with Ergo Watch, but I'm really looking forward to this new version and just seeing things on chain, what's happening, and it also gives people some ability to kind of look into things, which makes some nice assumptions sometimes.
I was having a play on there earlier today, just looking at the exchange addresses and UTXO sets. It's a nice little growth there.
Yeah, I'm really curious with that to see the rich list for any token. Every once in a while in this industry we have like the I don't know, Australian Dodge Shiba coin, and then you learn that there's like one guy who owns all of it, but it's on the Dex, and you see a lot of marketing, and you're like, oh, this, maybe is not the best idea, right? So having that information awareness is a good thing in terms of understanding risk.
Yeah, definitely. Shiba Quokka coin.
There you go.
Moving on. I think that's it.
All right.
I think transfer over.
It was a pretty solid update this week. Really happy to see a lot of progress. It's refreshing to come into the developer space of Ergo when you just have like mass madness on the market side. You kind of come into the quiet of home in terms of seeing people building things, putting them together, thinking long term rather than just reacting to the candle of the day.
Exactly right. I think that was one of the comments from one of the developers that was listed in here is didn't even realize that the markets crashed. They just had their head down in code and just doing their thing. So just continuing the whole hashtag beetle, as Dan would say.
Yeah, I don't know.
Beetle.
Yeah, let's just say
bit of a tongue twister. On Dan as well, I just have to thank him for getting the Ergo meetup happening in a bit of a short time frame as well. put on a very nice do. So had a nice turnout both in person and virtually. So hopefully we'll have the virtual meetup on the YouTube channel in the coming days.
Yeah, and one thing that's actually coming around the corner here is the Ergoversary. It's been a fast year from my side in terms of how it we rolled around the sun pretty quick on this one. So we're slowly putting things together, and I think we'll have more information coming out of the core team in a short time, but it's coming together. So hopefully we can put together a pretty nice event, videos and information, community stuff, and really talk about what we've been doing for the last year. And certainly as we get into the next year, it's kind of like a new era for Ergo, and I think we're ready to meet the day.
Yeah, exciting times ahead with hopefully a bit of hash rate migration, ecosystem explosion in regards to development. I think we've seen that in the last sort of 12 months. It's been a quick 12 months as well. We've had a lot happen.
Yeah.
All right, guys, well, we'll wrap that up here. Thanks very much for watching once again, and we'll catch you on the next weekly developer update. Cheers.
Cheers. Have a good one.